Good morning. My name is Iol Cc. I'm the tutor for the subject Investigation of Crime 1A. Now, the recording that we have now is for the said subject. The scope of the said subject is the tutor introduction, aims of the contact class, structure of the examination, continuous assessment, the examination and tips, course outline, and then the conclusion. Now, to start with, as I said, my name is Iol Cc. I'm your tutor. I have a degree in forensic investigation, BTech degree, and studying towards the honors in policing. My relevant experience is that I have been a police officer for from 1993 up to 2013 with the Namibian police force. My policing experience is about 21 years, and in the investigative experience or the investigation of crime, I've spent about 20 years holding various portfolios, starting with investigator, commander, the unit commander, and staff officer in the Regional Crime Investigation Coordinator's Office. My current position is a Senior Financial Intelligence Analyst with the FIC at Bank of Namibia. What do we want to achieve with this contact class? We basically want to prepare you for the examinations due in 2019 so that you can have the best possible chance to do well. Want to explain the examination structure so that you are aware of how it is placed. We want to explain the continuous assessment and the calculation, how it is done, and the basic tips. Now, the structure of the examination is that it may consist of 4 main questions containing the sub-questions, and it counts out of 120 converted to 100%. You may be required to answer one or two questions. In example, you have to choose between question 4.1 and or 4.2. Question marks may be ranging from 3 to 30 points. You may be expected to discuss, summarize, outline, define list, and or analyze specific matters or specific issues that are referred to. That's obviously held in your study guide. Questions are from the study guide, as said. Why is the continuous assessment included? To ensure that students take the examination marks serious and align your study towards or accordingly. The duration of the examination is 2.5 hours, 2 hours 30 minutes, and examination is out of 12 credits, written examination of 100 marks. Now, the continuous assessment, let's say usually a pass mark of 50% is required, calculated by 60% of the examination mark and 40% of the continuous assessment mark. A sub-minimum of 50% must be attained in the examination. Okay. In example, suppose your continuous assessment says you have assessment mark of 50 and the examination mark of 50. 40% of 50 equals 20, 60% of 50 equals 30. The final mark will then be 50. The setting and marking of the examinations, examination papers are moderated. Now, just to prepare you for the exams, you must please write legibly. I mean, it doesn't help if one has to look for the answer whilst you're supposed to give me the answer. Structure your answers through headings and numbers in the logical sequence. Although it's not that bad to write in paragraphs, it may just make it easier for both of us not to look for points if you structure it in headings and numbering within a logical sequence. Make sure that your student number and all details are requested are written down. Either write in blue or black ink, cheating in the examination will result in a failing grade. Serious steps will be taken against you. Refrain or avoid dumping of relevant and irrelevant facts at the same time, as you may lose valuable points. What happens is, most of the time, some of you write the relevant fact and then you add other stuff that may not, although we urge you to use your imagination or your discretion or your experience to write in exams, it is advisable that you keep with what is being asked and not mix it totally with irrelevant facts. Further instructions are: no authorized material or notes and stuff are supposed to be taken in. The head of examination, should you be responsible for irregularities during the writing of the examination, it will be the head of the examinations will collect your answering script and evidence. You will be requested to write an explanation. The answering script, evidence, and declaration will be submitted to the irregularity committee for verification. No examination mark will be accorded to you. You will be suspended from studies for about 12 months or 2 consecutive examinations. It is an infringement of the examination regulations to assist or to try and help other people. So please refrain from that. Cell phones, as usually, should be switched off. You may not leave the examination during the first 30 minutes or during the last 15 minutes of the exam session. A late arrival 30 minutes after the start of the examination will result in a no turn up, and you will not be allowed to write an exam. You are reminded that the question paper answering sheet book is the property of IOL. Please, it should be retained. Should you need additional writing paper, you should request for it. A rough work can only be done on question papers provided by the invigilator. You must sign the checklist. Spoken editing is not allowed. Do not dive into writing without reading the questions. Please go through your questions first and then decide which ones you're going to write first. It is advisable that you start with those that you know the answer of. For questions with 20 marks, write at least 1.5 pages. It is advisable that you look at the points allocation and accordingly write your facts. You can't expect to write 5 sentences whereas the point allocation is 20 marks. You will only be given the 5 marks or 5 points that you have added or that you have written off. Now, the course outline. You have about 3 to 4 exit learning outcomes. The first one of which is vehicle accident scene. Under that, you will have to study and try and make sure that you give attention to background to the Namibian police mandate, instances when to open a police case, investigation of a vehicle accident scene. You should be able to discuss investigations of motor vehicle accidents according to different facets, for example, injured persons, killed persons, witnesses, etc. Responsibilities of police members at the scene of accident, basic steps in drawing rough sketch plan of an accident scene, safety precautions, road traffic checkpoints, and other law enforcement divisions that can attend to road traffic checkpoints. Now, I have seen that the majority of you have indicated that the drawing up of sketch plans seem to be a problem. What you need to look at is a sketch plan basically has a few things that needs to be there. Things like the northern direction that you need to indicate to write that on the sketch plan itself that it is a sketch plan. Like in the heading should be sketch plan. They should be basically carefully look at the instructions that are given, because instructions are usually indicative of what is required and what you should be writing. The number 2, culpable homicide and unnatural deaths and suicide. in that area, you should be looking into other law enforcement agents that attend to road traffic checkpoints, differences, the difference between culpable homicide and murder, all about investigating a case of culpable homicide. For example, examples thereof, how it is investigated, witness statements to be taken, capability, investigation of a case of suicide, how is it done, all about investigating a case of unnatural death, in example causes thereof, responsibilities of an IO, etc. Number 3, driving under the influence, public indecency, obstruction of the course of justice. Under this one, you need to look at Section 40 of the Criminal Procedure Act, dealing with arrest, the stipulations of Section 50 of the Criminal Procedure Act, procedure after a person has been arrested, Section 1 of the Road Traffic Transport Act, which defines driver, vehicle, motor vehicle, and public roads. You should know the differences thereof. Section 82 of the Road Traffic Transport Act, which stipulates that driving whilst under the influence of intoxicating liquor or drug having a narcotic effect or with excessive amount of alcohol or breath in an offense is an offense. Collecting, labeling, and marking of blood samples, how is it done? Elements of public indecency, obstructing the course of justice. Section 37, which gives power in the obtaining of prints, bodily appearance of accused persons to any police officer after the commission of a crime. Now here it is important to differentiate and know the various provisions that we have referred to above. Also know the difference between indecent conduct and unlawful exposure of the body and conduct in public. Investigating public indecency and details contained in the statement. Guidelines for investigating cases of obstruction of the course of justice. You should know the different guidelines. Elements of conduct that obstruct the course of justice in terms of defeating and obstructing. It is important for you to know your definitions, very important. So, in conclusion, one fact, one mark. If you give me one fact, you should expect one mark. For example, if you give me 2 marks, whilst the actual mark that you are supposed to give me is 10, you will only get 2. Framework of the exam, investigation requires that you know and understand all concepts and techniques, number your facts or use bullets to indicate, avoid numbering of irrelevant facts simultaneously. I should not be looking for points for you. I should find them, as I've said. Writing 20 facts instead of 10 may be costly. Start your examination preparation early by making relevant notes to study. Follow the instructions closely during your examination. Use your best handwriting, and short questions may be included. Best of luck with your studies.